You guys can see the Pasha Interior. Yes! The talk was that this was to be a car that would replace the 911. Oh, I know. Porsche snobs everywhere just lost their mind. What's up, people? So I'm back. This is actually the second time that I filmed this 928 driving video, and you'll have to forgive me. I'm using my camcorder, so the angle's not ideal instead of my GoPro. Word of the wise, if you guys are trying to do like video vlogs, YouTube, GoPros suck because they don't give you a reasonable way to put an auxiliary mic on it that's better. I guess they just think everybody's magic and has all this time to sit down and type in audio tracks and have lots of cameras and a huge personnel of people. Just put an auxiliary jack in your GoPros. Seriously, guys. Anyway, so it all failed. Ruined a perfectly good video, so thank you guys for bearing with the wackiness of the video, but I wanted you to experience the 928. So just driving to the shop, to Gina's garage this morning, and just started up. It started up great this morning. It's a little cold, but it's smooth. And I've only driven this car a few times before, and before this particular example, I had never driven a 928. In fact, what I remember from ever being in one was just being a small child, and this one time my dad test drove one that was a dealership, and he hit it, and you know, as a kid I was captivated. I thought it was amazing, but will the car stand up to me as an adult and a professional in the car world was what I was hugely interested in. I am a big fan of Porsche 944s, and the 928 is kind of in the whole same realm of front engine water-cooled Porsches. But of course the 928 is the big flagship. It's obviously liquid cooled, it's a V8, and it stood the test of time. This particular example is from 1978, so it's an early one with single camshafts over each bank, as well as the Bosch K-Jetronic fuel injection system, which was on everything and works just fine if you keep it nice, but kind of kills the power for a number of reasons, which we can go into in a separate video. But there's nothing horrible about it. It works just fine, and it was ubiquitous, especially on European cars in the late 70s and through the 80s. And obviously this car is running great. You guys can see the Pasha Interior. Yes! Pasha fabric. Okay, by the way, if anybody watching this is high and you can understand the words coming out of my mouth right now and you're with it enough to type, tell me what this fabric looks like to you right now. Is it cool? Because I think it's cool, and I am obviously completely sober on a Monday. Not to say that I wouldn't be any other day, but it's, you know, work. So let us know what that's like. Anyway, so it's a big car, kind of. Not really. It was a big car back when. It's sort of an example of this. We're on the highway with my wife yesterday, and we saw a C7 Corvette leading a Porsche 911 from the 70s or 80s. And it was amazing how small the 911 is compared to how big cars are nowadays. So this car, which is bigger than a Porsche 944, which is kind of a smaller car nowadays, really isn't that enormous. You know, the styling is, it's tucked in. It's minimalist in a sense. And this car, kind of sort of cutting to the chase of what it was supposed to be, was Porsche's new flagship. The talk was that this was to be a car that would replace the 911. Oh, I know. Porsche snobs everywhere just lost their mind. You can't replace the 911. It's perfect for all of eternity. No, it's not. But yes, it is. The 911 is sort of a weird car that's existed in different iterations since its original evolution from a Volkswagen Beetle, true, and the early roots of Ferdinand Porsche designs in Germany. You can see aspects of the Volkswagen Beetles, the 356, that carried on, of course, in a 911, and even going back to the Auto Union Silver Arrow type racing cars of the 1930s. But the 928 was supposed to be the replacement for it. And why that's interesting, me now and driving it, is I get it. I get why the 928 was supposed to be a replacement for the 911. It's better. It is. In terms of a driving car, the thing that I was first blown away by on the 928 was how good the ride quality is. And generally speaking, as a younger person that was always into racing, I think it's annoying when people are like, ah, ride quality, it's like, I mean, on a cloud. Shut up, go drive your old Buick, nobody cares, that's lame. Is it fast? Does it look cool? And the 928 is pretty darn quick. And keep in mind, for the time period, actually it's pretty darn fast. Maybe it's because this thing runs better, but I'm pretty sure it would have beat the Countach, or at least gave it a good run for the money that I had long ago from the same time period. But where I'm going with it is, this car, the first thing I remarked on is, all things being equal, I think this thing rides better than the 2001 Aston Martin I have. And this is a 1979 Porsche. Not taking anything away from Porsche, but pretty amazing that a car that's now longer in the tooth just road handles so well. And the ride goes beyond just the feel of the tires and how strong and planted it is. The entire chassis, the entire structure of the car is rock solid. There's no vibration, there's no flex, there's nothing weird. Like, I was kind of blown away at just sort of its prowess in being solid engineering. And when I say solid, I don't mean like a heavy tank. I mean like, damn, you guys got this figured out. So that was kind of what blew me away initially. Now this car is stock in terms of the exhaust system, well, in terms of everything really. It's stock, which for me, growing up and forever as a car guy, is boring. But it's somewhat interesting to experience a car like this that was something special back then in its stock form, because there's some kind of special about that. Like, okay, there's lots of things in stock that suck. And honestly, the car is so quiet now, I can barely hear the engine. It's like, I can just get a gentle rumble. So if you have the radio on or whatever, you're not gonna hear anything. You better be good at driving because you can't hear a darn thing. It's so quiet, which I guess for a lot of people is a big plus, but it's a little much for me. Anyway, so if I just get on it here, this thing's got torque. I mean, is it a rocket ship by today's standards? No, but for 1979, or even for the early, hell, for all of the 80s, this thing's pretty fast, genuinely. I mean, this will crush my naturally aspirated 944. It's got loads of torque, it's smoother, it doesn't rattle. I mean, the road handling is awesome. And right now I'm cruising in 5th gear. This is an earlier car with the dog leg transmission, meaning basically that reverse is where 1st gear typically is, and 1st gear is typically where 2nd gear is, which does nothing for how the car drives and how you operate it. It's just that you got to click over your dingbat brain into remembering where the gears are. It's basically the same exact configuration of the pattern you'd find in, say, a Ferrari 308, or most Ferraris with gated shifters, of course, of the 70s and 80s that were 5 speeds. Just kind of the way it was. And if you think of the gearbox in terms of the way it is, if you took the gear pattern, rotated it 180 degrees, then that's sort of the way the gears are aligned in a 944 in terms of reverse, and then just 1 through 5th are inverted. So basically everything's inverted. But it's kind of fun. I sort of like that, although I got to think about it a little if I'm going to drive it. Like, okay, this, you know, it's like 5th gear's back here. So if you go back and forth between a 944 and a 928, an early one with this gearbox, you need to remember that, because it'll start feeling the same, and you might go from like what you thought was 4th to 5th in a 944 and realize, oh, I'm going from 5th to reverse. You're not going to get it in reverse, but if you try to, you'll probably be surprised in a negative way. But I really like this. So right now I'm just cruising along to Gina's garage in 5th gear, and if I just roll in the throttle without downshifting, it makes good torque. It just rolls. It's not going to just launch, but it goes. And then if I wanted to pass somebody, there's nobody out here right now. If I downshift into 4th, about 4 grand, ooh, let's go. And also, I'm not sure if the camera right now is jiggling. I apologize if it is. Again, my GoPro totally skitzed out with the mic, and I wanted you guys to at least have good audio quality. I'm sorry you're not getting the full experience here, but I thought you would enjoy getting this while I had the opportunity, because frankly, I sold this car to a friend. They just really wanted it, and I love the car. It's been nearly a year process for me. Long aspect of it was restoring the interior, sourcing the correct Pasha fabric, and then finding the right upholsterer that frankly could do these seats properly. Because the thing about Pasha is it's all 90-degree angles in terms of the pattern, and the human eye is so good at knowing if angles are 90 degrees or 180 degrees. So if they screwed up at all on this pattern and got it off just a little bit, you'd know it forever and it'd look like crap. So one, you gotta find the people that can look at this insane pattern and not feel like they're bombed out of their mind. for too long, right? But had the attention to detail to get it all straight and get it right. But then the nature of the Pasha fabric pattern, I hope you can tell, it changes. There's areas where like the concentration checkerboard has big squares and then small squares. So everything has to be aligned correctly for, you know, what originally was. And then the 928 has these big, like really wonderful seats. And they're not even pleats, they're like big blocks. And they're pretty cool. So it requires some upholstery architecture to do it right. And that took a while. But anyway, it's just a wonderful car. I'm frankly bummed that I'm not keeping this car. It happens. So I hope you guys aren't sad. I mean, Casey's 80s Garage continues. I just got the white 944. I always want a white Fuchs wheel, so that's gonna keep going. And I got other cool 80s stuff in the mix. Might even do a 956 or 62 replica. Yes, I said 956 or 962. I'm not kidding, I know what that means. You should too. Next year, we'll see. Anyway, so Casey's 80s Garage is going to keep going, even without this car. So if you came here for the 928, don't just bail, okay? It's going to keep getting awesome. But 928 is an awesome car. If you like the styling of the Shark, Porsche Shark, which I do, and the crazy frog eye headlights, which I do, honestly, you can't go wrong. It's an experience unto itself. There's no other car I've experienced, and I've experienced a lot of cars, that gives me this same experience. It's unique, it's special, it's good. It's uniquely 80s without being super 80s, if that makes sense. The car was an absolute flagship and is underrated. If the Porsche snobs don't like them that much, who cares? Like they have any taste anyway. The 928 is a spectacular car, really enjoying it. So if you can find one, super enjoyable. Sadly, loads of them are automatic. That's not my thing. I just not that into an automatic car, but honestly, it's such a great car. In a way, I wouldn't even mind having an automatic car. It'd just be a different use. Like, you know, it'd be, you're gonna go on a trip, or, you know, your wife's gonna drive it, or it's kind of a family car. And in that sense, I think it would be great. Of course, I like stick. That's just, I like that connection. So if that's your thing, great. And that's sort of it. The styling of it is interesting too, because in some ways it's like, wow, that was 80s, but, or even 70s. But the thing of it is, in terms of the art and design of this interior, just speaking from that sense, not from a time period or for fashion, but for the sake of good design, you can't take anything away from it. And in many ways, I think the 928 was the peak of interior design for Porsche, because everything is laid out exactly the way I would want it if I started with a blank canvas. Boom, steering wheel. All the gauges I can see well, and they're smartly laid out. All of my controls are just here by my fingertips, but not in a place where I can't get to them. I don't have to look and punch and wonder where everything is. It's just all here. It's brilliantly laid out. It just is. And it has enough of its, you know, of course, its time period of design, of the fashion leading edge for that, but everything about it has stood the test of time beautifully, while still carrying forth the culture of the time, which that's kind of the ideal objective. So I think it's really great. And this is a car that you could drive daily in modern times without any problem. You can maintain whatever speed you want on the highway. You've got comfort. You've got style that no modern car has like this. And I just adore it. This isn't a car that makes me go, oh, I want to go on a golf course lawn and be in a Concours and just stare at it. And not because it's not pretty, because it is. I just like it seeing parked in my driveway and having the key and getting in it and driving it, because that's where the magic is. This is a car to drive. A Countach or something like that, more of a car to look at. It's a cantankerous of a car that is hard to deal with. It costs a crap load of money. A Porsche like this is the car to drive and enjoy. And the art is enjoying driving in it. And I think that this is a car that will continue to give you the opportunity to appreciate it. The way it looks, the design, and just what a masterpiece it is of subtlety. And the utilitarian aspect of driving really well, in really great command, of the road and connection to the driver over a long period of time in whatever condition or speed you throw at it. So I hope you guys enjoyed riding along with me in the 928 today. I really enjoyed it. I'm gonna try and do another video walk around so you guys can see everything about it and what was done. I'm sorry for the camera angle today, but again, throw that to GoPro for sucking, for not having an auxiliary mic input. Oh, Casey, well, there's an adapter with this tiny USB piece of crap that some dork engineers in a lab in Silicon Valley said will work. Yeah, well, go outside in the real world and realize it won't work after a while, and it's a piece of crap and it'll ruin your video. Sorry. Casey, you're kind of salty today. Well, I work in the real world. I get annoyed with people who don't. See you guys later. 928s are cool.